we're probably not going to do a spoiler free for this. So if you've not seen The Last of Us season 2, episode 2,
go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it and come back.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it is really, really good. And
also, apparently diverges from the game quite considerably.
not too much. Not a ton.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Because if we're in spoilers now, I was told that the whole undead or zombies attacking Jackson doesn't even happen in the game.
No, it doesn't. But there is an event like that. Like there is like a little attack.
Okay.
And the way that the group composition is different in the game. I don't see the zombie attack on Jackson. I don't see as a huge divergence from the game because it's something that very easily could happen.
Yeah.
And there's stuff like
it's also just kind of an excuse to throw a Game of Thrones like battle scene in there.
No, this was the Hard Home episode for The Last of Us, and like it kind of balances because in the first game there is a zombie attack on Jackson that they have to defend against. Mm-hmm. So it kind of balances out that it's kind of happening here. To get into the Last of Us kind of mood. The season premiere was the previous week. Mm-hmm. We get back into touch with Joel and Ellie, who are living in Jackson now.
Joel still hasn't told Ellie what he did,
right?
And even though Ellie can tell he's got something going on,
right. And we know that Abby is
out to kill Joel.
Yeah, she's out to get Joel. We don't really know why. Excuse me. So. The episode opens on a dream sequence from Abby, who is going through the same hall that Joel shot himself through when he attacked the fireflies.
When he killed all the fireflies.
And there's another version of her kind of like waiting there.
Yep, stand there like, don't go in there.
Yeah, she's trying to convince herself.
You don't want to go in there. But you're going to see some brains on the floor. Yeah. It's really fucking gross.
This is actually really heart-wrenching, the way she says it. Her younger self looks at her and says his brains are on the floor, and that version of Abby refuses to believe it. Mm-hmm. And because the version of Abby that's walking down the hallway is like the 19-year-old version of Abby, and then the one trying to tell her not to go in there is like present day older Abby. And she goes into the room. We don't see what she sees, but
she wakes up.
Yeah. So she wakes up from her dream. So they're taking shelter in a lodge.
Yep, that overlooks Jackson.
Yeah, it's not too far from Jackson.
And it's daylight now, which it wasn't, previously. So she gets up there and sees Jackson, and she's like, shit, it's an entire fucking city inside a fortress.
Yeah, this is way worse than we thought.
Yeah,
it's not just
we
a
thought
tent
it'd just
town.
be a fucking tent city with some generators.
Right.
Like they have power lines and like these
great
20-foot tall walls with like 4 locking gates.
Yeah,
like
overlapping.
How the fuck are we? Like they have dogs.
Yeah.
How are we going to get in there?
Yeah, they have overlapping patrols, which means they have veterans down there. They're training their soldiers or whatever, and they mention that the Chekhov's dogs, which end up being the heroes of this episode, which I was very, very happy about. Abby mentions as an idea capturing a patrol and interrogating them, and the rest of the group is like,
what are we gonna do with them after?
Yeah, and she's like, kill them, and she's like, no, Abby,
no, Abby, no. We signed up to kill one dude.
Yeah, we're killing.
We're
one
not
guy
killing anyone
yeah.
else.
So. Ellie wakes up to a pounding on the door from Jesse, who is there to get her up early for patrol. And
well, first he's like, "So you had a really fucking exciting night, didn't you?" And she's like, "Shit, I didn't mean to kiss Dina. She was just
Dina
there.
Kissed me.
She kissed me." And
he's
Jesse's like,
"Yeah,
I didn't know she did that."
Yeah,
like, oh fuck. And Jesse's like, "I'm just fucking."
Yeah,
with you.
I don't care. I don't give a shit about you and Dina. What the fuck ever. And Ellie's like, "You're the fucking worst. Get out of my house." So Ellie talks to Jesse about, because they're on their way to patrol. She talks to Jesse about her baggage with Joel, and she's like, "Look, it has been really bad at times, but we're always going to be Ellie and Joel. Like nothing's ever going to change that." And I think what we're going to find out in an episode down the road. So at the end of the first episode, Ellie comes home. Joel is on the
porch, and
the
she just walks past him.
But she doesn't, though. And in the game they talk.
Yeah.
They have this conversation.
Yeah. They have elided that scene for the moment.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see this conversation, and I think that there was. I think they kind of reconciled a little bit, and to the point to where Ellie's like, I actually want to go on patrol with Joel, and
Jesse's like, well, bad news. Yeah. Joel went out earlier with Dina.
Yeah, and it's not because he loves Dina more than you. He just wanted you to sleep in because he knew you had a hard night. So Jesse,
a long night, not necessarily a hard night.
So Jesse mentions that he's like, okay, so the whole town's on alert because they found some frozen infected being used as insulation by other infected. And we don't know what they're up to or how many there are.
Also, somebody, and I'm not pointing any fingers here, but somebody told the high muckety mucks this really fanciful story about an infected that could think.
Yeah, and she's like, fuck you, that was real. I saw it.
He's like, I'm not naming any names here, but...
Yeah. So Tommy, Joel's brother, runs through the emergency procedures with the town, and
Chekhov's emergency procedures.
Yeah. So the kids and the elderly
go down in the basement, lock the door, don't come out until you get the all clear.
Right. So the basements have been specially fortified to withstand an attack from infected. And
everyone who can shoot a gun either gets up on the wall or gets up on top of the houses and shit.
All the able bodies to the roof, and if there's a breach, stay the fuck off Main Street.
Yes. Very important. You do not want to be on Main Street.
Right. So Seth apologizes to Ellie
Ellie is not having any of this, by the way.
This is exactly how it is in the game.
She's only there because Mrs. Tommy dragged her up and is like, you're going to stand here while he apologizes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, his apology is very genuine and is a good apology.
I think he's trying.
Yeah, because it wasn't just I'm sorry.
I'm sorry if you were offended.
Right. He's
said, like, genuinely, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, and I should not have thought it.
I shouldn't have thought it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Ellie's like,
okay, whatever.
Fuck you, and walks away.
Yeah. Water off a duck's ass. And he's like, I made you these steak sandwiches. And she's like, oh, I'll take those.
Well, actually, she walks away without the sandwiches.
And Maria grabs
Jesse.
Jesse, right. So back at the lodge, Abby is taking a watch in the cold.
Yep.
And she's out freezing her tits off.
She walks out, and like one of the guys is like, "Don't worry, I'm working on a plan. We're gonna work this out." She walks out.
What does he say? I have
the beginning of a plan or something. And everyone else, everyone else looks at him and is like, "You don't actually have a plan, do you?" It's like, "I do have a plan.
I do have a plan.
The plan is we convince her to leave before we all get killed.
The plan is we tell Abby she's being fucking crazy, and we all go back home to Seattle, where it's much warmer than it is here." And they're like, "That's not a bad plan.
That is a good plan."
Except that Abby is in fact insane, and so that's never going to work. So she goes on watch and she sees a pair of horses on patrol with people on them, obviously. Yep. And she's like, "Ooh, I'm going to follow those guys." Yep. So she starts falling,
skittering down the mountain.
By skittering, you mean a barely controlled slide down the mountain.
She's not doing too well.
Yeah. So a thing that's happening that's kind of like it's adding some anxiety to everything that's happening is that the weather is getting worse.
Yes. There is a big blizzard. Like Jesse and Ellie see it as they're coming out, and Ellie's like, "Should we be worried about that?" And Jesse's like, "Nah, it'll stay up in the mountains. We're fine."
Turns out it's not staying in the mountains. No, it's coming straight for Jackson.
Turns out that after the zombie apocalypse, one of the things you really miss are meteorologists.
Right. So they call back all patrols, but Ellie and Jesse are too far away. Yep. So Jesse's like, "I know a place. It's Eugene's 7-Eleven Weedporium." And so they find this. They stuff the horses into a garage.
Yep. And then head inside. And Ellie's like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yes. By the way, I like how when they put the horses in the garage, and this one horse, and they were like real horses, like sees a stack of hay and is like, "Oh fuck yeah!" Fuck he starts eating it. Yeah.
Chomping.
So they find Eugene, who was married to Katie O'Hara's character from the first episode
before Joel sent him to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Right. Had a whole
growing
dispensary,
a ton of pot inside this abandoned 7-Eleven.
Right. So the show is setting up a little bit of a mystery about Eugene. Now, just like Frank and the other one,
Bill and Frank.
most of what you learn in the first game about them is through like letters that you find. And it is similar about Eugene in the second game, where they're changing his character a little bit. In the game, he dies of natural causes. And they're kind of setting up this mystery about Eugene, and we know that Eugene is going to be in future episodes. He's played by the same guy that plays Cypher in The Matrix.
Oh, okay.
And
he's a former Firefly.
Yeah, former Firefly. Which, yeah, they develop his character a little bit. He and Tommy served in the Fireflies together, and it was like, look, I'm tired of murdering people, so I'm going to stop doing that. And then they talk a little bit about Eugene's end, and Jesse pretty much is like, what are you going to do? Like, he couldn't be saved, which means to me that he got bit. Yeah. And then had to be shot. So Abby stumbles into an infected nest, and this is so fucking cool. There's this frozen clicker that's sticking out of the fucking snow, and it starts to like twist in place, and it's so like creepy and weird.
She's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I'm gonna step away very slowly.
Delicately try to leave.
So infected just start popping out of the snow like fucking daisies,
and then she fucking turns and runs.
Books ass. Yeah. So Abby, who is now being chased by an entire like horde of infected, gets to the copper mine where Joel and Dina were doing their patrol. And there's this iconic moment from the game where this piece of fence falls over onto Abby, and you have to she has to crawl. In the game, you're controlling Abby at the time, and she has to crawl through it while like it's harrowing and really cool.
And they capture that really well, because that is a genuinely uncomfortable scene to watch.
And they shoot it so that it's more claustrophobic too, because they do this tracking shot inside the fence, and it makes the space feel so small and so long, and it's just really cool. So she gets out, but an infected is like jumps on her and
about to bite her, and then
fucking a 6-shooter
from out of scene. A 6-shooter shows up, blows it away. Like we hear from Abby's perspective, where she's like temporarily deafened from the
she
shot.
got the tinnitus in her ear,
and you can hear someone yelling, "Come on, we need to go! Come on, take my hand, come on!"
And it turns out it's Joel.
Yep.
And so he saves her, and they run into the building, right? And they get into the building, and Abby hears Dina refer to Joel.
Yeah. Like, Joel, what are we gonna do? And Joel, hey girl, who we don't know yet. This is Joel, my friend.
Yeah.
Hey, Joel, what are we going to do?
By the way, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, his first name is Joel. And
as you can tell, he's in his 50s, kind of attractive.
Handsome, scar on his right temple,
Yep.
And
are you keeping a checklist of all these things? And should I say them a little louder?
Yeah. Oh, and have I mentioned his name is Joel? And it's a big moment where she doesn't have her gun. And then she sees that Joel has a gun.
Yeah, Abby has this moment where, like, you can see she's sort of calculating all
She's like, maybe I can kill the motherfucker right now.
Maybe I can kill him, but also there's like a billion zombies out there. Right. Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. So she starts to mention... She starts to play the part.
They're like, okay, we need to get out of here, but there's a blizzard out there, but we can't stay here. And Abby's like, the lodge. Like, my friends are just up the hill. We just need to ride up and get to that.
We've got guns, and we can we can help fight. Back at the 7-Eleven Weedporium, Ellie finds a bong gas mask. Which she looks at.
I am so taking this.
She looks at Jesse and just stuffs it in her bag. She's like, I'm keeping this. So in Jackson, that water main from the first episode with the cordyceps is disturbed by a worker, which means that because
he sees the mushroom doing his little thing, and he's like,
okay.
Tommy!
Yeah, wait, somebody go get Tommy. Because we know that the way that cordyceps works in the show, in the game, they do lots of spores, which I think based on the trailer, they're doing spores as well, but they didn't do spores in the first season. But a big way of how they communicate is like they can have tendrils miles away that you touch, and it communicates with everything, right? Yeah. And so he knows, like, all the infected in the area are going to know that there's something there that's worth coming to check out.
Yeah.
There is this brilliant moment where this giant horde is chasing Abby and Joel and Dina, and then there's another horde running down the mountain toward Jackson. And then the one horde gets diverted.
Turns and U-turns the other way.
And both of the hordes merge, and they're all running toward Jackson.
Straight to Jackson.
This lone watchman looks out with his binoculars and he sees the approaching horde.
It's fucking Return of the Jedi when the rebel guy in the trench is looking out with those binoculars and he sees the one walker foot.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And pans up and sees the walker and then sees all the other walkers.
Yeah, that's Empire Strikes Back. But yeah,
that's what I said.
You said Return of the Jedi. It's fine. Okay. It doesn't matter. So they've obviously drilled for this. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what to do.
So they ring the bells and all the kids and elderly go in the basement. And everyone else gets their guns.
I love how Tommy gets up on the wall with his gun. Everyone's real nervous about what's happening. Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of freaking themselves out. And Tommy screams Jackson Hole. And it's a rallying call, and it's kind of beautiful a little bit because this is a communist town that is their form of government, and their community is the most important. Like the community is the most important thing. So screaming the name of the town as a rallying call was kind of like, I wish more things were like that, you know. Mm-hmm. So the frontline infected crash against the gate.
Yep.
And I like this look on Tommy, like, because everyone's like, "Oh shit, what was that?" And Tommy's like, "Oh, thank God it held," like because they're really counting on the wall not to collapse.
So they have this really cool defensive strategy where they have these barrels of gasoline, that they send off on these little bouncy slides that fall down there, and then they all shoot up the barrels a whole bunch. And then Tommy grabs a torch. He's like, "Guess what time it is, motherfuckers!" Yep. And throws the torch down there, and everything explodes and lights on fire.
Yeah, this is the bit of the episode that has Game of Thrones DNA all through it. They do so the gasoline thing. They make sure that the tanks or the drums are thrown behind that front line of infected, so that when they explode them, it catches that group of infected, and that all of the other rushing infected has to run through the fire to get there as well. It's really clever.
Yeah.
Fucking great explosions. It's one of those moments that you cheer. Like you're like, oh fuck, and
they're just mowing down infected.
Oh yeah, because it's a kill box. They're just fucking going right through.
And for a second you think, okay, things are going to be okay.
Right.
And then you see this absolute unit of a fucking 10-foot tall, covered in mushrooms guy coming towards the fence, and Tommy's like, well shit, they're about to breach.
Oh yeah, they're about to get in this motherfucker.
You know Main Street, that place where I told everyone to not be? I'm going to go down there and strap on a flamethrower.
Right, yeah. So that's a special kind of zombie called a bloater from the game. Mm-hmm. One of them shows up in
season 1.
Yeah. It's the episode with Shauna from Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, what was that? Kansas City? Missouri?
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
And that motherfucker comes out of the ground and grabs the guy and just rips him in half, right? It's real gross. So Joel and Dina see Jackson on fire, right? And Abby convinces them because Joel wants to turn around right there, and he's like, I have to go back.
But also, it's the middle of a blizzard.
Right, and she's like, look.
Your horse will freeze before you reach the first marker.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you in hell, yeah. So Abby convinces them to continue to the lodge. He's like, we'll go to the lodge,
we'll
get
warm
the
you
guns.
up, we'll get some guns, we'll get my friends, and we'll go help.
Yeah. So the horde redirects, and you can hear that bloater in the distance. And Tommy knows they're about to breach. So Tommy retreats to Main Street. He puts his fucking flamethrower on. The zombies breach. They run in. 2 of the 4 of those flamethrower guys just fucks up.
Yeah.
They get scared and run away.
I do not blame them because I would not want to be on flamethrower detail.
Right. But
also
on the other side of that,
this is kind of what you signed up for.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have volunteered for flamethrower duty.
Yeah.
So the horde breaches. They swarm Main Street. Some break into the buildings
and start going up to the roofs.
Right.
And
they don't get past the reinforced doors to the basement because they're kind of built to withstand that. And the shooters on the roof do a pretty good job as well of holding everything back. So Maria, Tommy's wife, fires at the bloater who's just like stalking down Main Street and shit. Gets his attention, and the bloater's like, I'm gonna go get that motherfucker right now.
Tommy's like, oh no, you don't.
No, he's like, that's my lady.
No.
And so he distracts him.
Starts yelling, he shoots his handgun at him, and
so the bloater's like, oh fuck it, I'll tear that guy apart. Yeah. And so Tommy runs into an alley and then realizes that the alley is
there's
all
no
blocked
way
off.
out.
Right.
Okay, I have this flamethrower strapped to my back. How do you like fire, big Mr. Mushroom Man?
Right. And they ramp the tension up really well because you know that he's got limited fuel for the flamethrower, and he runs out, and it ended up being that he had just enough fuel to kill this bloater.
Yeah.
So right before he's about to swipe at him, he just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna die. Yeah. So he like looks down and realizes he's pissed his pants, and he's like, all right, and he takes his gun out.
At least I'm alive.
Yeah. So Maria fucking runs to the dog kennel and releases the dogs.
Releases the hounds.
These dogs are not here to fuck around. And this is what is terrifying about dogs in capacities like this, because if you've ever seen police dogs do work like this, it is just like this, where they leap with such ferocity that your center of gravity is thrown off and you just get taken right down to the ground, and they do not stop biting your neck until you stop moving. It's insane.
We think of dogs as these like friendly, cuddly creatures,
and they are.
They're very furry and lovable. They are also not that very far removed from being wolves.
Yeah, they're predators, and they are very good. And I
mean, you have two dogs who kill any small mammal that wanders into your
yard. They are
yard.
very good at killing things.
Yeah.
They are built for it. Like that's what they do.
That is what they do.
And these dogs are the same. And I love that they don't show any of them dying, which is really great. I think we find out in the game that dogs can get bitten by the infected, and they can they can carry the cordyceps, but it doesn't turn them into zombies. So they just become carriers or whatever. Yeah. But they don't show any of the dogs dying or anything, which would have really kind of like ruined my day.
Would have really ruined the mood.
Yeah. So back at the lodge. Oh God. Just give me a second.
Yeah, this scene is rough.
This happens in the game, by the way. It's in the first 10th of the game, and what we're about to talk about sent such a shockwave through all the fans of the game that I think no one really knew how to digest it. And I believe that it was kind of the right thing to do, because it creates this intense sorrow.
For the story they wanted to tell, it was absolutely essential. Yeah. And it's
so
a very powerful scene.
Yeah. So back at the lodge, Joel and everyone arrives. Dina notes that their bags have WLF patches, which I know stands for the Western Liberation Front. Joel is anxious to get back to Jackson.
Yeah, Joel is looking out the window at Jackson, trying to radio back to them, trying to get some.
As a result, Joel is distracted and is not watching what's happening in the room with him. Abby introduces them. She's like, "Hey, this is Dina, and this is Joel." And this quiet just
all
goes
the
over.
fireflies are like, oh,
yeah. It gets impossibly quiet, but Joel is so worried about what's happening.
He's so preoccupied. He's still trying to radio back.
Manny takes Dina hostage. Joel realizes he turns around. He realizes he's cornered. Abby is like, "I'm gonna make you a deal. I'm gonna ask you a question, and if you tell me the truth, we're not gonna kill your other daughter figure,
friend here."
When's the last time you saw the fireflies? And you can tell Joel. Like, I don't think Joel would have lied about it anyway, but he's starting to put together a little bit what's happening, and he's like, "Yeah, the last time I saw fireflies was in Salt Lake when I killed a bunch of them." And they give Dina some, I think it's propofol, to knock her out for an hour, and then Abby turns around with a fucking shotgun and blasts Joel right in the leg. Not just knocks him right the fuck over. And she monologues a lot.
Yeah, she spends like 4 or 5 minutes telling Joel, so that doctor you sent to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, that was my dad.
Yeah.
Not cool, by the way.
Yeah. That really made me upset.
That really grinded my gears.
Yeah.
And as a result, I'm going to grind your gears.
Yeah. And I like how she takes another breath for the next part of her monologue, and Joel just goes, "Would you shut the fuck up and do what you brought me here to do?" And this really triggers Abby.
In the corner of the room, she sees this bag of golf clubs.
Yeah.
She just selects the 9-iron and says, "You don't get to choose what's happening here.
You don't get to rush this." Yeah. And she starts beating him with that golf club. Ellie arrives at the lodge, which, by the way, we forgot to mention.
So Ellie and Jesse have been riding out. They heard on the radio that Joel
and Dina hadn't checked in.
So they see the tracks and follow it up the hill to the lodge.
Right. So she walks in on Abby beating Joel, and she tries to shoot her immediately. I mean, gun out. She's like ready to shoot her. The other Fireflies are able to restrain her, but not before she cuts Manny right across the fucking face with her pocket knife. And they get her down on the floor and restrain her. And it's this heart-wrenching moment where Joel is already pretty much
Joel is gone.
Yeah. And she's begging Joel to get up. During...
you can tell Abby has been working on him for a while because she is exhausted but still punching him.
Yeah, and he's just barely he
is conscious and desperately wishes he was not.
Yeah. So while Abby was beating him with the 9-iron, it broke, and she picks up the part of the metal handle with the sharp point on it, and while Ellie walks over and drives the motherfucker right into his neck. And we don't see this in the game. We see her beat him and hit him really hard in the head. But most of his body isn't even on screen. We see like a blood spurt and we see like a finger twitch. But the way they shot this, because the second she drives it, all the sound stops, and you can see that part of Ellie's mind that just breaks a little bit. And she starts screaming and she promises all of them. She's like, every one of you motherfuckers is going to die. Like, I'm going to kill every single one of you. And it's like, I wonder if Abby had any idea what she just started, if she maybe would have made a different decision.
There is no way.
Yeah.
She could possibly known.
Because she has started a fight that I think, looking at Ellie, she might have underestimated her a little bit. But you can see there's a part of her, Ellie, there's something that breaks. And after they leave her there, and after they leave, Ellie crawls over to Joel, and it's heartbreaking because she curls up next to him. And we know, and I think it was in a podcast after the episode, I think the writer of this episode mentions that because Ellie was kicked so hard, that she might have assumed that she was also going to die and wanted to die next to Joel.
Or maybe she just wanted to die right there because what's the point?
Right. And that's how the episode ends. And
well, actually, we see like a montage of other shots, including like Jesse and Dina and Ellie riding back to town.
Oh, with his body.
With his body. Yeah. There's one shot in this closing montage that really sticks with me, which is there's two people up on the wall. One guy is like sitting down, leaning against something.
Right.
And he just rolls up his sleeve and shows this bite mark. Yeah. And then just hands over his pistol to the other guy.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, the camera pans past it before you see the shot go off. Yeah. But like, that just really drives home the reality of this world.
Yeah. It's pretty bleak. And we know from trailers they kind of they deal a little bit with the fallout from the battle, and then there's going to be a pretty significant time jump coming up here pretty quick, I think, in the next episode. I think it ends up being like 4 or 5 years that they skip, or at least a couple of years. So it's one of those episodes, and I knew it was coming because I've seen playthroughs of the game, and they made it even more visceral in the show than it was in the game. And it's one of those decisions that when they were making the second game, they really made a swing because Joel was a fan favorite. But there's something about when you commit to something like this. I mean, you feel real grief about it because you've kind of like
we spent all this time with this character,
right? You've fallen in love with him, and he's so likable. And Pedro Pascal is just he played him so well, and I think it's one of the reasons that like there are a lot of people that were upset about what happened in the game, and I think the reason why is because they didn't know how to face their grief over their favorite character dying, and I think that in itself is some really beautiful storytelling. And I wish people would realize that those feelings they're feeling, that's what the intention was. You're supposed to feel this immense grief for the death of this character.
Yeah, the whole scene with Joel, I haven't seen it in the game, so I don't know how it played out there, but I felt like it was about as tasteful as you can do a brutal revenge killing like that.
Oh, sure. It wasn't gratuitous.
It wasn't a Saw movie or anything like that. But it was also brutal and visceral, and
the fact that Ellie had to watch. Yeah. It's because I think in the game she doesn't see him die. She wakes up and he's already dead.
It's harrowing.
Yeah. So man, it's one of those episodes, and let me tell you, if you're a fan of the game and you've played it or you've seen it, you know that this starts this violent exchange of terrible things that these girls do to one another to get their revenge, and it just spirals out of control. And Ellie ends up doing some truly inhuman things to avenge Joel. And that's what the whole game is about. And yeah, it's just so far, fucking the show is great. I've really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one. So,
I think we better get out of here.
Yeah. Where does this comment? Dark Sorcerer. I haven't seen the next episode yet. Are you talking about Star Wars Andor season 2, or are you talking about The Last of Us? Because I haven't seen the next episode.
Because in both cases, those episodes aren't even out yet.
Yeah. Chris says, my next PM, I'm already giving you my vote.
Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Which one of us? Are we allowed to do that? Because in America, you can't be president unless you're born in America, or unless you're a
natural born citizen.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how.
Are you allowed to be Prime Minister of England if? You know who would know the answer to this? My friend Ben.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't. He's an idiot.
You're English guy.
Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then he wouldn't know. I don't think.
It's a reference to when we were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. King Hoon's a British guy. You have a British guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he would actually know, though. He's kind of an idiot. All right. Thus ends our 2-hour show.
Our first marathon of 4 in a row.
Yes. So
God help us all.
Join us next week, Wednesday, I think probably right around 6:30 p.m. Central. We're going to talk about the next episode of The Last of Us. But first, we'll be talking about Star Wars Andor episodes 4, 5, and 6. So thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you for the comments, and look for there'll be a couple of videos split off from this that go up on YouTube as well. So
if you've been watching this whole time, please leave a comment and tell us why.
Right. Yeah.
Explain yourselves.
Tell us why we're still here. All right. You guys have a good night. We'll see you later.
Bye.